Junkies!
Let's talk about Asian American films. And no, we don't necessarily always mean just, the tried and true stereotypical. It's a ninja film, it's a samurai film, it's a karate film, martial arts film, kung fu flick. All Asian American films. That's what we're here to appreciate and talk about. And that's exactly why we brought our friend Jay, a movie junkie, to talk about Asian American films. Now, of course, within the past month, a incredible Asian American film, Everything Everywhere All at Once, came out, starring Michelle Yeoh, and the newest member of the Hollywood Walk of Fame, one Mr. Shit.
James Hong.
James Hong. Sorry, bro.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm getting old. There's brain fart. I had the J. Just didn't have everything else. But this movie and a returning to Hollywood, Ki Kwan. This film is, as we said weeks before, is going to be up for Best Picture. It absolutely deserves it. It may be the finest Asian American film that we've gotten in America, I think, at least in a while. But there have been other really good ones too, whether it be Crazy Rich Asians, which is getting a sequel, by the way.
It is.
Yes, it is.
I did not know about that.
That's a book series.
I didn't know that.
Yep. Yeah, it is getting a film. Whether it be the Joy Luck Club or Memoirs of a Geisha. There's a lot of Asian American films that probably go under the radar that we really should be appreciating. But Jay, we brought you in to talk about this topic. Kind of take the baton, and what are some films that you feel like are a little underappreciated, maybe?
Underappreciated. I will say, if you guys, if your audience, if you guys have not seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, you have to. I think it handles the multiverse better than. Yeah, I think it handles the multiverse better than Doctor Strange, but that's just me. So
I mean,
he's not wrong.
He's not wrong. But
he's not wrong.
I keep telling people, one is the focus on it, and the other one wasn't.
That's true. That is also true. But please continue, Jay.
So it's very interesting. Thinking about when Adobe Girl asked me to come in and talk about movies, I had to figure out exactly where or what exactly we were going to talk about. Because you're right, it could very easily spiral out into something completely different. And so I wanted to make sure that while it's important that, for a lot of people, they associate Asian American films with just the general Asian. And so my mind instantly went to martial arts films. But, there's so much more than that. And then, of course, I went down the rabbit hole of the idea of representation and everything like that. But so I did bring some movie examples, and hopefully like some of the underappreciated stuff, particularly because obviously Asian, it's not not a monolith. Not all Asians.
Yes.
Represent all of Asianness as a whole. And it's very interesting when you start thinking about movies that deal specifically with individual cultures within the Asian culture. And in terms of underappreciated, and I know Adobe Girl would appreciate this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. That movie.
The debut.
Yes.
The debut.
Yes.
What's the deal with the debut?
It is. If there's a movie that encapsulates, yes,
that is who you think it is. It is Dante Basco.
It
is.
Dante Basco in the flesh.
And if there's a movie that encapsulates the Filipino experience growing up in the 90s and 2000s,
yes.
It is the debut.
Would you say this is the Filipino version of maybe like Clueless or something?
No.
Like that?
No.
No.
Okay.
16 Candles, maybe.
Okay, 16 Candles. Okay, I can rock with that. All right.
Kind of.
Okay.
But definitely,
All right,
for a lot of us, especially those of us that were born here in the States, we feel this movie.
Yeah. I bought 10 copies of that, actually. So.
And you were passing them out to people.
Yeah, I was. I really was.
I can picture her doing that, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, I saw myself in the character of Dante, who is trying to live up to his parents' expectations, but he wants to be an artist and not a doctor, or the typical Asian stereotypes that you would expect. And so I felt that. It's been years since I've actually watched it, so I'm wondering if the acting still holds up. But at least at that moment, it really spoke to me. So.
It was a good movie. I haven't seen it in a bit, but it is in our collection most definitely.
I have it on VHS and DVD, so if anybody
If
wants
they
to
brought it out on Blu-ray, we should go pick it up.
Yeah, they need to remaster that one in 4K. No.
Yeah.
But we're thinking about some of the other movies. The idea of, particularly the idea of representation, and it. Realistically, there really hasn't been, up until recently, we didn't really have many movies and many actors that we could look up to. And we held on to, when you think about like in the 80s and, speaking of everything and everywhere, the guy that played Short Round, he was in many ways the quintessential Asian that was, we didn't really have much to look up to with the exception of the martial arts films. And I think there was this huge gap until maybe like the Joy Luck Club, where all of a sudden you have a movie that is predominantly an Asian cast. I don't remember if the director was Asian also, but at the very least, it was a movie that spoke to a lot of Asians, and not just particularly females, women Asians, but for me also, again, and it goes back to the idea of living up to expectations, particularly, again, being an American-born Filipino, the expectations that parents may or may not have placed on their kids, and how do we live up to those expectations as they sacrifice so much to get where they are, and that movie spoke to me greatly growing up. So
what is that one?
Number one, he just subscribed.
Number one, appreciate so much your subscription.
Thank you for the resub. Now,
go ahead.
I was going to say, okay, so talking about movies, okay, how do we put this? Because it was brought up in the chat. One of my favorite movies growing up, even though I guess it's kind of on the martial arts side, and the first movie I ever saw James Hong in is Big Trouble in Little China. Now, that movie...
It always comes back to that film.
It was the whole cast, and they put it in there. The whole cast was Asian except for two people, and that was Kurt Russell and... what's her name from Sex and the City? Can't remember her name.
Kim Cattrall.
Catherine Kim Cattrall. I'm sorry.
Kim Cattrall, right?
Appreciate that, Fab in our life.
One of our chatters, he wanted to know, would that count? Even though the director and the writer weren't, but he took the time to make sure that everybody, and though it was mysticism in a certain culture, to me, it didn't seem like one of those movies where it's like, oh, people can't speak English or they're not trying to stereotype anybody. It was just like this wild ride that happened.
It's one of those movies that I think at the time it gets colored with experience over the years. Mm-hmm. And it definitely is not an example of a poor portrayal of Asians in cinema, and yet at the same time, it does still maintain the same, because let's be realistic, when you're talking about movies at that time, if they weren't martial arts movies, it was movies where the Asians were either mystical or Asians were speaking in broken English, and again, while the movie itself doesn't do anything overtly racist, it's been ages since I've watched it.
Oh, we're gonna have to watch it because I'd like to. Also in the chat, they were mentioning like Harold and Kumar series, which were two different sides of Asian but they were American.
Yeah.
And they were also on wild trip.
Like they were practically they were pretty
Craziness.
much stoners.
Yeah,
They
Yeah.
were complete stoners, which is not something that's attributed to Asian American culture.
No, definitely not.
Being stoner. So,
of like the Cheech and Chong era films, but they were both like different aspects of Asian. And I mean, I've seen like the first two, and I mean, look, everybody wants to like try to differentiate things up or whatever. Like for me, they didn't really age well to me. So
Probably.
that's fair. That's fair. Go ahead, please.
I did want to make mention in terms of, again, it's a movie that I absolutely love, but I do wonder about some of the representation in it. The Last Dragon.
The Last Dragon.
Last Dragon. Now, see,
It's very
okay.
much inspired.
It is very much within the Asian.
Okay.
There's a very heavy Asian influence, and yet it is also this very superficial.
Right.
yes,
It's damn near cultural appropriation if you
Yeah.
think about it, but because
but I
they
love
do flip it. They do flip it in the movie though.
And African Americans
They absolutely flip it.
they totally flip it, but African Americans have such an appreciation for the warrior culture of Asian Americans that, because I think that because of our own, ancestral background as warriors in the African nation, we can relate to that a bit. So how is that taken? How is a movie like The Last Dragon taken in the Asian American community, where it clearly looks like cultural appropriation? Clearly they're lampooning some things in old Chinese kung fu flicks because of the way that that Leroy Green acts in the film. What do you guys think of it?
I truly hope that people that view the movie today are not stupid. I truly.
There you go.
That's a big ask. That is a really big ask. But I hope that people understand the context in which the time it was filmed and made. Whether or not it is considered racist or whether it's considered cultural appropriation, that wasn't the context in which the movie was created. And I think that and you see that nowadays where people are quick to rail and rally against something without the proper context. And I really think, and that goes back to even like Big Trouble in Little China, I think people need to understand the context in which something was created. Doesn't mean that is right or wrong, no, but if you understand the context, you can see why the movie was made. So
Hannah of Omega brings up a good point too. Now that Asians are getting in trouble for their black,
it's not Asians. It's one woman who grew up in first off in an urban, setting. You're gonna talk like that. That's not. You're not.
You can't help that. Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like, how did they want her to talk? That's the thing that pissed me off. I enjoyed. Have you seen? And I had to look it up because I can't remember. It's called The Farewell.
I God, I am so bad, and I know you guys, the whole audience, are just like me. You buy more than you actually consume.
You must have bought it and didn't watch it.
I haven't. I do own it.
Yeah,
he's the movie version of Dino Kuji.
probably. I went to the theaters with my wife to go see it, and that movie was really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I made him go.
it was really good, and that was just and we sat down and watched her series, Nora from Queens. The woman's from Queens.
Yeah.
Again, how's she supposed to talk?
I think, and I was talking to Adobe Girl about this. My feelings about Awkwafina are softening. For the longest time, I just hated watching her, and and it had nothing to necessarily even do with her Asian, her black, but it had more to do with the fact that everything she did was exactly the same. Every role that she had was exactly the same, and that was always frustrating to me.
If it's good enough for The Rock or Will Smith, come on, man.
Well, no. The Rock is not the same in all of his movies. Will Smith is kind of the same in a lot of his movies. The issue with it is, in Awkwafina, Leslie Jones and Kevin Hart fall into this. they are the same in almost every single one of the movies, and it gets annoying, and it gets boring, and it gets old
Vin
really
Diesel?
quick.
She definitely wasn't.
And
And again, I'm not saying that she's
But
not.
the
I'm
other
just-
movies,
yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah,
I didn't
absolutely.
see Ocean's
8.
Ocean's
She's
8.
the same.
But then, like in Crazy Rich Asians, she's kind of like, because from the clip I saw from Ocean's 8, is that what it's one?
Yeah, Ocean's 8. Yeah, that's what it's called.
That it was kind of like the same character.
It's the same character, trust
But
me.
yeah, so I don't know. I mean, excuse me. Seeing that movie, she has acting chops. She can do it.
Yeah, and that's why my stance on Awkwafina has softened a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
most
question
people
from-
who start. Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Sorry.
please. You
Well, I
go
was just
ahead,
about
and
to
I'll ask this question. Go ahead.
A lot of people that usually have like a start with like a more satirical or comic like beginning usually come around and have really good acting chops and whatnot too, because it's like, you know, I'm not saying I was like necessarily high on her, but like I could definitely see the talent in her. And you know, honestly, folks act like that other people of color don't have to code switch when they go to different places. So it's like, come on,
We all do
everybody's
it.
prone to
Yeah.
the code switching in this
We all
country,
do it.
so they need to stop it.
Well, I remember. Oh, go ahead.
What?
I was gonna ask this question. It came from the chat, from Hand of Omega. He says, "How does our guest feel about Raya and Avatar? Raya the Last Dragon, and Avatar: The Last Airbender." I'm sure.
If we're
As filmed. As filmed.
yeah, if we're Raya, I thought is fantastic. I thought it was one of my favorite recent movies. But I'm also an animation junkie, so I may be viewing it with lenses. But at the same time, you know, it definitely embraces, while still rather ambiguous, to wit Asian. I think it does a good job at a good general Asian vibe to it. God, if we're talking about the Last Airbender movie, the M. Night Shyamalan movie, can we not?
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
Absolutely not.
Like,
I mean,
the
what were
TV
they
show,
thinking?
yes, but the movie, no.
TV
Dude,
show's
that
amazing.
movie, dude. I can't even hide the disappointment that I felt. I was so excited when that trailer first came out, and then I saw pictures of the guy that they picked to be
Aang?
not Aang, even though he was bad. But the guy, pretty much everybody in the principal cast,
Yeah.
whether it be Katara, whether it be Sokka, whether it be Zuko, dude, it was just everybody was just bad. It's just everybody was bad.
I
It
don't
was- it
remember
was
much of that movie. Was Zuko's grandfather even in it?
No,
Yeah.
you mean his uncle, Uncle
Uncle,
Iroh?
yeah, excuse me, Uncle
His,
Iroh.
his uncle was in it. Like,
Yeah.
I forget the actor's name. He's done some pretty good stuff in it, but he was Uncle Iroh in name only, because
Yeah.
they
I don't even remember it, dude. They kind of like blocked it out.
Wow.
I mean, Uncle Iroh didn't really get his shine until like the second book of Avatar the series anyway. So
Right.
there's that. Go ahead, GQ. I'm sorry.
Yeah, real quick. Out of the chat, the poll just ended. Apparently, Moon Knight is a very split decision thing going on. So people can't decide if it's the worst MCU thing yet or not. So that poll is over. Yeah, Airbender had the best teaser trailer in the world. It made it seem like it was about to be amazing. And then I saw M. Night Shyamalan. I'm like, oh, hell no. I didn't even bother. No, I didn't even bother. Once I saw M. Night Shyamalan's name on it, I'm like, I don't need to see it.
What a twist!
Wow.
I
No,
I
it was
do
bad.
have a
What
soft
twist?
spot. I have a soft spot for M. Night Shyamalan. And granted,
Like,
I
how?
do.
Like,
the thing
come
is,
on, how?
Like his output has become more bad than good. But when he's good, he's really good.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Please tell me.
old-
No, please
he's
tell
old
me.
and good.
When is he
Old
good? Please tell me. When is he good?
Sixth
I want to hear
Sense,
this.
Sixth Sense was really good.
Oh,
That
Yeah,
was a good movie.
Dude, that's the
Six
first
Sense.
movie he did. Come on.
You
Come
asked for
on.
when he was really
Unbreakable.
good.
His first string of films were actually really, really good.
Okay, so we're talking Unbreakable and Sixth Sense, right? Everything after that was trash. Yeah.
I will still. I think that Lady in the Water was actually a good movie, just horribly mismarketed. I will stand.
I
by
agree.
That was a weird watch. I remember seeing that in the theater.
I didn't
I
see
wound up
Glass, but
kinda
I
like it.
Split.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that because they were marketing it as a the typical M. Night Shyamalan movie, which it wasn't. It was a fairy tale film. And because of that mismarketing, people treat it like it's one of his worst movies, when no, we're talking about a time and a place where The Last Airbender exists. So it is not his worst movie. So.
Okay, so
that's fair.
Out of the chat, Hannah Omega is asking another question. Well, actually, I need to go back earlier to something our newest follower, Ian Ellicott, had mentioned. He mentioned John Cho in Searching.
Oh, fantastic film.
Fantastic film. Okay. And he also, Brian Cannon, wants to say what's up to you. How you doing?
Hello.
Also, Hannah Omega had asked, what did Jay think about Crazy Rich Asians as a film?
I feel bad again for it's one of those movies.
Whoa!
I saw it. I saw
I
it.
haven't
I
watched
go see
it.
that. Did we see
He
that in
owns
the
it.
theater?
Yeah, I made you see it, Darian.
Yeah, we went to go see that in the theater.
It is on my it is on my short list.
Yeah, you're kind of like me because I stopped buying movies because of that. I'm like, you know what? I will watch it when it comes out on streaming because I'm tired of having so much stuff.
All right, so what's the producer's take on it then?
All right.
Yes.
Crazy.
Put your camera up there.
Oh, okay.
I see. There you go.
Hi guys. Hey, Crazy Rich Asians was what you call it? A Gilded Age. Great Gatsby meets Singapore. I don't think it really reflected modern the modern times. It was a little fantasy in there, but you could see how you could just see how it was interesting to see different nuances of the culture. Just like Jay said, we're not a monolith, you know what I mean? So I was just excited because that was the first time I saw a movie with that much representation since the Joy Luck Club. I hadn't seen anything, and I feel like this broke the water or the ceiling of other Asian American movies where we're not portrayed as foreigners. The Farewell was good. This last movie, Shang-Chi, was really good.
Yeah. How do you forget
Shang-Chi.
Okay, now here's the question.
Go ahead.
Here's the question, because what year did that come out? That came out, was it 2019?
I was last year.
Crazy Rich?
No.
Crazy Rich Asians.
No, Crazy Rich Asians was like 2019.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 2018.
So
2018,
2019.
2018? Okay.
So
all right.
technically, was this okay? Because everybody knows Black Panther was the other movie that came out that same year. Was this kind of on that level then, of the sense of fully Asian cast, Asian director, the whole thing?
It was.
Yeah,
It was.
and
That was like
that's
that was the
thing.
narrative. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was going to say that's the thing. Like when believe me, when Black Panther came out, I cheered because
Me too.
it was very much, as Net said, a breaking of the ceiling in allowing movies to represent something that wasn't white America.
Right.
With a cast and crew primarily of other.
Yeah.
And Crazy Rich Asians did that. And one of the things that after I saw Black Panther, I was like, yes, finally this means that a movie can be held and led by someone that isn't white. And I thought that this would be perfect. It'll be a perfect opportunity now for more movies to be like that. And while I haven't seen Crazy Rich Asians yet, the thing that I felt about it is what excited me about the movie is that finally here's a movie, an Asian-led movie, where it isn't about martial arts. You know,
Right.
That there is the opportunity for an Asian man to be a leading role, the lead man, you know, the love interest, you know, that doesn't involve using nunchucks.
Yes.
Right. Exactly.
Wasn't he Snake Eyes?
Yeah, that is the same actor that plays Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes in the because I knew he looked familiar. It's like I saw that first.
Henry Golden is his
Yeah.
name,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He's like
Yeah.
half Asian, half British something like that.
Yeah.
When I saw Black Panther, I was so excited. I was like, hey guys, what are they going to do next for Marvel? Yellow Cheetah? Come on, let's go, let's go. So I was really happy to see Shang-Chi come through because Kim's Convenience, that was my jam. I loved that series. That was a really good series.
That was a good show. Pretty
Yes.
funny.
You know what? Amarok put me onto that series, and I fell in love with that show so much. And it's just like, cause I think like that was one of the shows that kind of had the criticism when it first started, but then it's like as it went on, you're seeing how they're doing it, and it's not an insulting way. Because at first glance, it's like, oh, they had like the really thick accents, and because they immigrated, you know, to Canada and all of whatever. But it's just like even then, it's just like they understand that like they even though they're doing it in a humorous way. And they have like those dramatic beats in there too. It's like they still are very respectful to the notion of, you know, how immigrants tend to acclimate themselves in a different environment and how they, you know, basically live their lives. But yeah, like I really fell in love with that series.
It was a really good show. The last episode, I felt sad, not because it was over. It's just because I thought they could have did better. It's like they just went upstairs for dinner, and that was it. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But I was just like, come on, after all that, you're going to give me
I hate when shows end unresolved. Like, I hate that.
It's like,
I really do.
But yeah, I think the showrunner, he had a lot to do with that, to make sure that it was done properly.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed that clip. Make sure you check out our live content on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/Culture Junkies. We also have a lot of content available on YouTube, unboxings as well as Blu-ray reviews. And you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Culture Junkies. And on top of all of that, if you go to culturejunkies.net, you can check out our merch store. The link is culturejunkies.net/merch. There's a lot of great merchandise there. So there's links and logos and stuff all around me. So check those out, and we will see you next time.